Tashidelek. So everybody can hear me well, right? So here, I think we are all here. I am a little bit late today because I couldn't conclude my morning session. So I have some sort of like a set of like a meditation and mantra that I have to complete for my first morning session, and somehow it took a little time. And so everybody, I hope doing well. How is everybody doing? I hope everybody is good and you can hear my voice okay, right? Okay. So here in India, it's a kind of like I think weather is good. A lot of fog this morning, and yesterday there was a huge rain. This morning I see very foggy outside, and so somehow it is nice. I kind of like I actually put the fan on, so that's why you can see my this this kata is kind of moving, right? And you can actually see my this morning sessions. You know, what do you call the offerings right here? Torma, the red torma, and so I am actually still on my retreat, and so somehow originally I was thinking to stay in sort of like this practice retreat. First, you know, I thought 2 weeks, and then I extended, and then, you know, like it become 1 month. And then again, I keep enjoying it, and then I keep extending it. So that is actually it's a good sign, right? So so somehow it is a wonderful opportunity to actually give some time, kind of, for self-reflecting, and it is a good to inner kind of like sometimes it is good to kind of go into your spiritual practice, sort of like setting time to actually kind of do the intensive sort of like a retreat. And also this our like a Great Master's Life series that we are actually learning on Master Tsongkhapa's life, right? Which on the chapter we actually learned that Lama Tsongkhapa actually did a kind of 3-year intensive sort of like a retreat, and it was very intensive. Actually, they went into very sort of like a ascetic kind of life style, like a kind of with a few group of people, and I don't know like we say that they did a great retreat, right? The great retreat Nianxian. So we don't know exactly on what is there a specific deity that Lama Tsongkhapa actually focused or not. We don't know, and kind of like many times, you know, we kind of like assume that Master Tsongkhapa kind of like did his like a deity practice. Like his main deity practice is we call it Sangde Jiksun. Sangde Jiksun means Sangwa means Guya Samaja. You know, Sangwa Duba. So Sangwa de Guya Samaja is one very deity practice that is actually called kind of like the Father Tantra. You know, Father Tantra, sort of like in a way, it is kind of Pagyu means kind of like a father side or male side of practice. And then Densho, Kolo Densho, which is actually Iruka or Chakra Sambhara, which is the, you know, Magyu, which means Mother Tantra. Mother Tantra means the, you know, female side of the Tantra. And then Jik Sang De. Jik means Jikje. Jikje is a Yamentaka. So Yamentaka is actually, it has kind of like a essence of both the, you know, Father Tantra and Mother Tantra. And somehow, Sangde Jisum Yamateva Kyangpa means that is one of the main advice or principal advice that was given by Master Tsongkhapa, like saying that we should practice Sangde Jisum Yamateva means kind of like inseparable, sort of like doing the three practice all together. So I think from the way he gave this kind of like advice to other you know, like students, that I think he did you know, he usually do like these three practice, and then mostly kind of like focus on Sarjang, like Sakbata Jangwa means accumulations of merit. And Jangba means purification of the negative karma. So mostly, you know, it focus on kind of like Sarjang, Ne Duba, Yala Duba, sort of like, you know, doing the prostration, sort of like a 7 limbs prayer, right? You know the 7 limbs prayer. In the 7 limbs prayer, actually, you know, we say that first doing the prostration, right? Sort of like a bowing. So there are many different ways of doing the prostration. And so somehow prostration is kind of like you are actually doing the naman, like in Sanskrit, they call it naman, like bowing, you know, bowing, or kind of like a respect, sort of like showing like a respect, sort of like there are like, you know, body prostration, you know, speech prostration, then like a heart prostration, sort of like a body prostration is like you are doing a full like a body or kind of half body, sort of like a bowing. So there is in Tibetan, like we have a few different physical body prostration, like doing the, you know, like a full body prostration. It's kind of like a very kind of full, kind of like a heavy duty exercise. And so like a 7 limbs, you know, kind of like accumulating, like doing like activities such as like accumulation, collecting like many numbers of prostration. And so it's like traditionally known as a cha boom, means kind of 100,000, but then 100,000 doesn't mean that that is limited. So you can do more than 100,000 if you can. And so it's just kind of to show the number, sort of like a lot of prostration like that. And then Chanze Wata, churching means offering, sort of like offering, kind of like doing offering. So there are many different offering, right? Like a chi chaba, nange chaba, sangye chaba, sort of like a outer offering, inner offering, and then like you know, secret offering, and then you know, like ultimate offering. So there are like chi chaba, nange chaba. Sanwe Cheba, Ekonani Cheba. Like, in Tibetan, we say like there are many different kind of offerings. So this kind of like doing a lot of offerings. So traditionally, in the offering, they do actually do the mandala offering, sort of like a mandala is kind of like a universe, offering universe. And so like it's like if we go into this detail, like in the outer, like there's an outer kind of like outer mandala. Sort of when you offer the outer mandala, you are offering the kind of like the universe, right? Like a sashi jushi means like the ground is kind of spread with like perfume, flower, and then in the middle you put the Mount Meru, which is the king of the mountain, and then like continents around it, and then sun and moon, and then just put all the things like so that kind of like it's like a mandala offering. So and it's very like what do you call great practice to accumulate merit if we do the mandala offering. And so if I kind of tell this, if I explain what is the mandala, offering and all this thing, it will take a long time because it has a lot of information there. And then just that's the outer mandala. Then inner mandala, sort of like you offer your all the sort of like what do you call your like a body, your emotion, your mind, sort of like and even in the body, like sometime like there is a way to actually power the Sergei like there is a very powerful tantric mandala, sort of like is you actually visualizing all your skin as a ground, and that is like the golden ground. Then you actually putting all your body part as a different part of like the like a different part. Like for example, like your heart is like the Mount Meru, like your heart is like the mountain, and then all the like your limbs and inner organs and everything, sort of like in the form of many different jewels, and sort of like, so somehow it's like you're offering you are like transforming your body into the mandala and then offering it. And sometimes it is also good to like kind of like you are like from a modern kind of way also, you can actually because your body is you own it, right? So like if you actually kind of visualize your body as the whole universe, and then all the bodies cell, each cell like a trillions cell into a trillions galaxy or trillions whatever, like that, and then just kind of like offering it. Sangye Shinto is like that is like when we do the mandala, there is actually you can think of like you can transform it all into the Buddha field and then offer it to the enlightened beings, or you can say like Sangye Shingla, like you can offer it to the like to the enlightened field, and then blessing it with sort of like there are many different. So as I said, if we kind of keep explaining this, it will take a long time. So anyway, and then another way of accumulation of merit is like a rejoicing, practice of rejoice, sort of like, and that is also very powerful practice, very simple, yet very powerful. Like so some kind of like thinking, like rejoicing for every good thing, sort of like whatever there is a good thing happening. People like there are like immeasurable Buddhas and Bodhisattva, not only in this planet, all over the universe, throughout the space, there are millions and trillions of Bodhisattvas and Buddhas, and then just kind of think of their good deeds, whatever they are doing. They just kind of like you actually generate sort of sincere rejoicement for them, just kind of being happy for what they are doing. And then we don't actually have to go really far away. Like even in this planet, there are many great beings who are actually doing good and great and helping people, not like not only a Buddhist way, like you don't have to actually put a label on, oh, these are like Buddhist and not non-Buddhist, Buddhist, non-Buddhist. It doesn't matter. There are many human beings who are doing great deeds and rejoicing for their deed, being happy for them. That's a great rejoicement practice. So that is why Master Tsongkhapa himself actually said that means very small effort, very little effort you put, but the result is like immense, immeasurable. And that kind of practice we have. And what is that practice? And he said that rejoicement. Rejoicement is that kind of practice. So it's actually very, what do you call? We have that ability, right? So somehow we should not feel bad that, oh, I'm not doing any prostration or any kind of like a mandala or 100,000 prostration. Don't feel bad about it. Even though you're sitting on your couch comfortably, you just kind of like think of all the great deeds that people are doing. Like in a bigger picture, think of all the immeasurable Buddhas and Bodhisattvas. In a smaller scale, even in this world, even in our community, in our like sort of like, and then also you can actually come back into yourself. Like, this lifetime, there must be so many deeds that you did. And then not only this life, think of all your past life. Maybe in your past life, you did something really good. There must be so many great deeds. And that's why you are actually, like a meeting with Dharma, and, you have actually, in this life, there is like, even though it is very rare to meet this kind of opportunity, you have met with this kind of opportunity. So somehow rejoice for your great karma. Rejoice for the karma that you have collected. Maybe because of your good karma, and you are actually experiencing those things. So somehow, if you rejoice for all your good karma of your past life, then what happened is you are not wasting your good karma. If not, then we are just like, if we are just experiencing the result of all our good karma, but somehow if we don't appreciate for what our previous good karma, then it is like we're kind of you kind of like we are using what we have saved and nothing left. So the kind of like it is kind of like you are actually spending from your saving, right? So kind of like so you are actually losing, you are wasting your good karma. So sometimes rejoicement practice, even for your own like previous life's good karma, is like a great way to restore your karma back. So it is like it is almost like if you actually rejoice for all the good karma that you did in your past life. So somehow what happened is actually it is like you are actually increasing your saving, like a good karma saving. So that is like the rejoicement practice. So that is why rejoicement practice is very effective, and it is really, if we really look into it, this is like a rejoicement practice is not like some kind of a made up thing, right? It is like it is not something like even to practice the rejoicement practice, you don't even have to be religious, or you don't even have to be Buddhist actually, right? So it's kind of like anybody can do. And on a like a more scientific day-to-day life, the person who actually practices rejoicement, actually that person is much happier. It's like that person must be more positive, right? It is just like the positive, if you are a positive person, you actually feel good about what other people's doing. It feels like you are happy. You're happy for what they are doing. So if you are actually not happy for other people's good doing, then what it is like, it is a jealous, it is the envy, it is like some sort of like, negative. And when we actually, when we are not happy for other people's good deeds, then you are not happy, right? See, that's so simple. Simple, it is like a simple, like it is saying, rejoicement is you're happy for other people, and not practicing opposite of rejoicement is like you are unhappy for other people's good deeds. So see, and that's like it's a simple, right? It's a fact about. So that is why when you actually hear or see or remember good deeds or the people, other people doing, and just immediately grab that opportunity, and put a rejoicement there, apply a rejoicement practice, and that actually is a great way to accumulate merit. And somehow you don't have to do anything, right? It's just like it's just so easy. It's simple. I don't know, maybe easy or not. Sometimes there is a difference between simple and easy, right? It's just so simple, but many times we forget kind of applying that kind of practice in our. So anyway, rejoicement is one of the 7 limbs prayer, and and then shakwa means purification, confession. Sort of like a confession is like so it's like we don't actually have to, when we say confession, sometimes people think that confession is like a guilt practice, but it's no guilt practice at all. Okay, purification practice is not a guilt practice. It is not you're not torturing yourself. You're not actually it's like not feeling bad about what you actually did. So somehow purification is a very interesting sort of like a practice. Actually, it is like acknowledging. So in a way, it is like acknowledgement, like acknowledging the mistake as a mistake. Sort of like so the mistake, like some like we have it sometime when we what do we do if we did a mistake, right? What do we do? How do we handle our mistake? There is like so because we make mistakes. That is like making mistake is a part of our life. In a way, it's just kind of like we are learning in a we are learning like even in the spiritual practice, we are like taking a baby step. So when a baby learning how to step, how to walk, they fall down many times and they make mistakes. So that's like sometime in our life, like our life is not perfect. We make mistakes. So then when we make a mistake, then knowing mistake as a mistake, and then just kind of like thinking that okay, this is what I did, so that is actually not good, and so I cannot go back in time and fix it. I cannot fix it, right? We cannot, whatever we did, we cannot fix it. So how can we actually purify that part of negative karma? Is by actually thinking that okay, this is done, and I will not do that again. See, that is what it is. The purification is. So I will not do that again. So I understand. I seeing mistake as a mistake. Seeing this is not good for you. So with that seeing, if you actually make a decision that I will not do that again, so that itself is the purification. That is the compassion. Okay, so that kind of practice. So then like there is like a Kuzhing means it sort of like a what do you call request, sort of like a request. So requesting, like a sort of like a Buddhas and for the turning the wheel of Dharma. sort of like please bless me, and you know, all the asking for all the enlightened beings to bless you and turn the wheel of Dharma, teach you, and things like that. So that is what it is actually saying is it is the practice of you know, somehow willingness, sort of like it's a practice of willingness, sort of like you need to have a willingness, sort of like always kind of have the will, sort of like you know, this is like I always say this like in English saying, like, you know, where there is a will, there is a way, right? So somehow we have to have a will, sort of like if you don't have a will, so that is the practice of goodwill. So practice of goodwill is like you know, like asking your you know, enlightenment and your teacher to bless you and teach you. That's the one example. That's just one example of, you know, practice of goodwill, sort of willingness, sort of like a will. So what is generally what it is like, you have to have some sort of like a very kind of willingness. It is like a willingness practice is a very actually very powerful, right? Because for example, we can actually apply that for our happiness, like willing to be happy, right? Willing to be happy. If you know, if we actually apply that in our daily life, then just kind of like you are willing, sort of like a willing means sort of like you actually you want it to, you go, you are actually ready to take action, sort of like it. So that is actually a, you know, great practice, opposite of laziness and discouragement, because you know, these are the actually very like two big obstacles in our life, right? Like the discouragement. Discouragement is like, oh, you know, I cannot do this. I am not, I don't have an ability. So it is like, I don't have an ability, sort of like, and I am not good enough. I'm not good enough. I don't have the ability to do this. I cannot do this. Like if you actually, your mentality is that way, then you don't have a good willingness. Your practice, you're because you are actually putting yourself down, saying that I cannot do this, you know. And then also like sometimes we actually tell other people also, right? We put other people also, somebody is going to do something good and spiritual practice, and then we actually stop them, right? If we have the power to stop them, or we kind of like indirectly discourage them, like don't do this, don't do that, you cannot do this, you don't have the ability to do this. Like that kind of practice is the opposite of this willingness practice. So that is why it is, you have to have a will. So keeping your wills up, sort of like keeping your wills up is the 7 limbs prayer and this requesting. Because requesting means if you have a will, then you will request, right? If you don't have a will, you will not request, right? So that is why it is like some sort of like you have to have the will. So that is like the out of 7 limbs prayer. So this is very, if you keep your wills up, it is like I can do this and I will do this. Like I can do my spiritual practice and I will do my spiritual practice. So if you keep your wills open all the time, then you are, you know, your aspiration is always open. So you are somehow, you are actually, you know, making yourself as an aspired person, somebody who is aspired, somebody who is actually not lazy, somebody who is not just, you know, sitting and not doing anything. It is just like, you know, when you don't do anything, sitting in the dark room, not doing anything, not any kind of like no interest. If there's no interest, right? So, so you have to kind of you know, practice this. You have to keep your interest up. So interest up. That is like a 7, like out of 7 limb prayer. The requesting is that one. All right. And then like yang element of Sotawa means that is the 6th one, which is like kind of like a supplicating like your guru and enlightened beings and other people to remain, right? Remain here. Sort of like, so remaining sort of, that is another practice of seven limbs prayer, which is kind of like, in the Bodhisattva practice, Master Shanti Deva actually he put that practice, right? As long as the space remain, right? As long as space remain, as long as sentient beings remain, may I too remain and dispel the miseries of the world, right? See, that remaining. So when you actually ask your, guru and enlightened beings and just kind of asking to remain in this world to help, so that is an example of that practice. That's just an example. But how do we actually put that sixth limb, right? Out of seven limbs, the sixth one, how do we put that in our day-to-day life practice? Is it sort of like, you need to have some sort of like a not only willingness, but you need to have a not giving up, sort of like a not to give up sort of attitude. Sort of like remaining means, if you actually give up, if you are tired of doing something, so like for example, first you have some sort of interest, right? Like that is like many times in our life happens. We are interested in doing something, right? And then like slowly our interest kind of fade away, right? Our interest kind of fade away, and then what happened is the next obstacle is giving up. So you don't want to remain in that practice. You don't want remain means you don't want to keep doing. So it's kind of like the meaning of the remain here is also continue. So if you kind of like you cannot continue, you don't want to continue. Sort of like so that is the practice. It is kind of like you need to have that kind of like a very strong determination that I will never give up. I will never give up. Sort of like that kind of mentality practice. That is, so sometimes, people say, oh, why do we request the Buddha to remain? Why do we request our guru to remain, remain in like just kind of like sometimes it is kind of a little bit contradiction, like, we are looking at the Buddha and saying, so please don't sort of like, please don't die, please don't go, so please remain with us. It looks like a little bit kind of like a selfish, right? And sometimes controversy that, Buddha cannot die. So if Buddha will not die, why will we request, right? What is the point of supplicating Buddha or saying that please don't die? Because he will never die or she will never die, then what is the point? So that point is not about Buddha. Point is about our mentality. Our mentality. Like, so somebody who you want to remain. So that is like an example. Like you wanted them to remain. So not only, so what is the point? If you wanted them to remain means you care, right? You care. You care about, because it makes a difference because they are there. That means it is you care about that. So you actually sort of like ultimately how we have to put that is we have to practice that remaining like I will remain too, right? I will remain too. I will not give up. I will remain sort of like if you are practicing Bodhisattva, I will remain as a Bodhisattva. If you are practicing being a good person, I will remain good person. So if you are kind of like happy, I will remain to be happy. See, if you are a positive person, I will, I wanted to sort of like in the 57 limb prayer, we say, I will, right? I'm interested. And then the sixth one is like, I will remain that way. I will remain that way. I will not give up. So that is the practice of the sixth seven limb prayer. And the seven limbs, out of seven, the last one is the dedication. Dedication means, so whatever we actually accumulate merits and all these things, so somehow, at the end, as a conclusion, what we have to do is actually, it will be very wise to dedicate it. Because when you dedicate it, then somehow it is like you are actually, not going to waste it. So in a way, sort of like, oh, these things that I did, so whatever I did, I will dedicate. So it is just kind of like so it is also a very simple way to increase our good karma. Sort of like, so you have actually one good karma, and then if you kind of like, if you have a one good karma, and if you dedicate it to 100%, then your karma will increase into 100. And if you dedicate one deed, one good karma that you have accumulated, if you dedicate it to 1,000,000%, then your actual good karma increase, multiplied into million. So now, like there is a, like if you have a one good karma, and if you dedicate it for the benefit of millions and trillions and immeasurable sentient beings, then what happens? See, one good karma dedicated to, immeasurable beings throughout the universe. So somehow that one good karma will multiply into that much. So that is why these are like a love symbol, so love symbol means 7 limbs prayer is a very, what do you call, I don't know the word in English. Tibetan we say lava. Love, actually, Ralata love, right? So I will check. So love symbol means it. I don't know. I will look into my Tibetan dictionary, okay? Kind of like love is like a very powerful love symbol, very powerful. Strength, love is like a strength. Actually, love is also like the wave of the ocean, right? So somehow, like it is like all the 7 limbs prayer, and this all 7 limbs prayer is something we can actually do it. It's not something that we cannot do, right? It is like just because we are like lazy that we don't actually do this kind of 7 limbs in our day-to-day life, but we have the ability to do this. And if I tell you this one stories about this 7 limbs prayer, you know that 7 limbs prayer originally, actually this practice was came from ZaChoeje Rinpoche. ZaChoeje, that this the king of prayer, ZaChoeje, this like the Samadapatra, right? Samadapatra prayer, and so this prayer, Samadapatra prayer, is it has a very beautiful kind of background story, because this is actually, this prayer, you will find that in the Buddha scripture. Buddha scripture, actually it is one of the Buddha's, what you call, teaching. So actually it is like the Heart Sutra, that Heart Sutra is the Buddha's teaching, right? But if you look at the whole background story of the Heart Sutra, like Buddha actually didn't say anything, right? Buddha was sitting in a meditation, and then there's Avalokiteshvara and Shariputra. So Shariputra actually asked the question to Avalokiteshvara, and then Avalokiteshvara answered, right? Shariputra asked, how can, like a bodhisattva practice, like the practice. How can you actually do, how can you practice bodhisattva way, right? That is what Shariputra asked. And then Avalokiteshvara somehow answered, this is how you have to practice the practice of a bodhisattva, way of bodhisattva. And then this, at the end, then as a confirmation, Buddha actually kind of like kind of arise from his meditation, kind of like meditation. And then he said, Lexo, well, very well. Whatever you said, that is great, right? So somehow it is kind of, Buddha said only these two words, perfect, or Lexo, well. That is it. That is good, like that. That is the only word Buddha said. But we consider that as the Buddha's teaching, right? That's the teaching of the Buddha. That is actually, so why that it become a Buddha teaching? Buddha teaching is not always Buddha have to say. So, like if there's Chingilabeka, that is what we call Chingilabeka, means it is the blessed teaching. So somehow Buddha blessed the Shariputra, Buddha blessed the, Avalokiteshvara. So when he actually at the end, when he said he confirmed it, this is it, that is it, this is well. So somehow he blessed it, and so it considered that is the speech of Buddha. So that is it is like we consider that as a direct teaching coming out of Buddha. So Heart Sutra, we cannot say Heart Sutra is not the direct teaching of the Buddha, right? It's not the indirect teaching of the Buddha. It's a direct teaching of the Buddha. So same thing. This the King prayer, Samatapatra prayer was also a blessed teaching of the Buddha. So this prayer was not actually Buddha actually said from his mouth. He didn't say it. Who said it? Who actually made these praises? Who actually made these praises is a Bodhisattva Samantapatra. Sanjusama Kundu Sambo, we say. Bodhisattva, there's a one Bodhisattva, like, there's a Bodhisattva Manjushri, right? Manjushri is one of the Bodhisattva. And then Avalokiteshvara, Bodhisattva Avalokiteshvara. And then Bodhisattva, Grintara, right? So Bodhisattva like Vajrapani. So there are many different Bodhisattva, right? So Chanjusamba Kundu Sangho is one of the Bodhisattva of the, like there are 8 very close disciples of Buddha. Like they are called the, what do you call? 8 Bodhisattva kind of like a disciple. So 8 Bodhisattva disciples are kind of like a Maitreya is one of them, and Kundu Sangho is one of them. Then Namgen Nyingbo, then what do you call the Sai Nyingbo, like the. So there's kind of like there's like 8 of them. So Samatapatra is one of them. So Samatapatra actually, like if we actually look into the Samatapatra, story, like it's very fascinating, amazing. In a way, like Samatapatra is not from this planet. So somehow he is coming from another Buddha field. So like there's like in the another Buddha field, there is a one Bodhisattva known as a Samatapatra, and somehow when he actually came, like he invented this 7 limbs prayer. So 7 limbs prayer, and if you actually look into so it's actually getting too much time today. I don't know if it is today or to the point. We are actually getting a little bit stepping away from our main master series, but actually it is important to know, right? Because Master Tsongkhapa actually did a 3 years retreat, and the main focus that what he did at the Welka Valley 3 year, like he did a lot of accumulations of merit, right? And many of these accumulation of merit, he actually based that on 7 limbs prayer, right? So this must be 7 limbs prayer must be something important. And then we have to know why it is so important, why it is something important. And if it is not something important, why would Lama Tsongkhapa, do these many 100,000s, like he did 100,000 prostration, 100,000s of Mandala Offering, 100,000s like practice of like, and he is advising doing practice the rejoicement. So somehow this seven limbs prayer, historically, in the history of the Buddha, like Buddhist history, this is a very fascinating story. That one time Buddha was teaching, and he was doing his regular thing. In the morning he will go into the town and take his begging bowl, and then beg, beg for the food, and then come back and eat that and sit under the tree, right? So, and then he was doing the teaching, and then many bodhisattva, many arhat, many student disciple gather, and he did like some sort of like a morning teaching, things like that. And then this morning teaching was done, and then many bodhisattva came. So then like there was one kind of like a son of one businessman, Songbyon or Sangipu, that is like one of the kind of merchant, right? So merchant, there's one ancient time, so there must be some merchant who was kind of like, he's like a businessman, right? And so this one actually person, he's a lay person, but he was like a merchant, sort of like a selling things and buying things, and sort of like doing regular thing. But somehow he was kind of like a very impressed by the. So somehow he actually see the Manjushri in the gathering, and then when Manjushri actually went, so he followed. So this is like a Norsang, this merchant Norsang, he actually followed the Manjushri, and then like Manjushri kind of like asked him, why, what do you want? And then like somehow Manjushri gave him the teaching, and then like Manjushri gave the teaching, and then he sort of like made him bodhisattva. So Manjushri made him bodhisattva by actually teaching. Through teaching, he gave the teaching of bodhisattva and things like that. And then somehow this merchant Norsang was very he generated bodhicitta. And then at the end of the teaching, then he said, "Thank you very much, Master Manjushri. And now I have generated bodhicitta, but I don't know how to practice it." And that's simple, right? It's a question. Very, very, very simple question. And how can I manage? How can I practice now? How can I practice my, how can, keep practicing this? And how can I develop my bodhicitta? So Manjushri asked, he asked Manjushri. And then Manjushri, of course, Manjushri can give answer, but somehow Manjushri said, okay, I think you need to find this master. So he actually sent him to another master. He said that you have to, go into this town, that town. There is one master named something so and so, and go and find him, and he will teach you. Right? So this, merchant, because he has this willingness, and then he went to that master, and that master, not easy to find, but somehow he find that master, and then he again asked the same question: how can, I have generated bodhicitta, now I don't know how to practice it, please, teach me how to practice. And that master kind of like, give him kind of patting on his shoulder and said, "That's wonderful, very great that you have actually generated bodhicitta, and that is very rare, and you have generated that from Manjushri. You're really truly blessed by Manjushri, but you have to go to this different master." So he sent to another master. Okay, so this is actually very interesting. It's like, in the beginning when I hear that story, I feel sorry for that merchant Norsang because he is so sincere, going to all these different master and listening to all these different master. They sent him to, another master, and there was like, 110 of them. Okay, no one has taught. Like he kept going from one master to another master, 110. Can you imagine? Can you actually keep going like that? I think if ordinary person like us, I think we will just give up. It's like, okay, forget it. Right? So it's just like okay, I generated a bodhicitta, but and we will actually complain to Manjushri, right? So Manjushri, you let me, generate bodhicitta, and you are not teaching me. That means you don't know. And then maybe in our case, if these kind of things happen in the 21st century, maybe that person will do the protest against the Manjushri. Saying that, you told me that this is possible, but now you're not teaching me. So anyway, he went from one master to another, very, kind of with the sincere, sort of like sincere. And even there's one master that one master actually introduced, and it was this master has said that, oh, there is one merchant, another merchant. So this is not a monk, like some sort of businessman. So there's this businessman, you should find him. So somehow, this one businessman master that he searched, and in the story, actually, it says that it took 12 hours, no, 12 years. It took 12 years to find him, because that merchant was not sitting in one place. He was going from one ocean to another ocean, different place. So he was searching and searching, and so poor merchant Norsang, actually like very determined, right? Very kind of like sincere. Even though it took 12 years, he went and searched for that master. And then after 12 years of searching for that master, again, that master didn't teach him. So, oh, wonderful, you have to go find another one. So this story is sometimes, I thought about this. It's very fascinating and very, sometimes a little bit out of this world, right? And then finally, this one master came, and this one master, who he introduced, and he said, okay, that's wonderful. And he introduced it to Maitreya. So Maitreya was, like the Maitreya, and then Maitreya somehow very interestingly showed this kind of like, so Maitreya said, oh, that is wonderful, so come. And somehow it is like in the story, it is very beautiful. I don't know, maybe it's a little bit like a sci-fi story. And then Maitreya actually took him to this one big room. And in this one big room, it is like the screen. It's like a big, huge screen. And I remember I kind of like thought like it is like a kind of like what do you call this movie, like sometime in the movie they have like what is that, like a Star Trek, or I don't know. I saw this like a big room, right? So somehow Maitreya took him into this one big room, and it's like it is a 360-degree screen. Okay, it's like an all screen. And then he showed all the different activities of the bodhisattvas. Just kind of like he showed it. So it is like he didn't teach. Actually, he showed. So he showed on the screen, so that Martin Norsang actually was looking. Wow, so this is what bodhisattva do. So this is like bodhisattva. So this bodhisattva is doing that. That bodhisattva is doing this. This bodhisattva. So it is just like millions of different bodhisattvas doing different practice, and he saw all on the screen. And so that is a big, I think, a big accomplishment for him, right? So anyway, he didn't get the whole teaching, but he saw the whole teaching. He saw on the screen. But then, Maitreya actually pat on his shoulder and he said, wonderful. And today you have seen the whole deeds of the Bodhisattva on the screen. And because of your determination, because of your willingness, and you actually didn't give up until 108 or like that, right? So somehow 110 means Maitreya is the 109, right? Or 108. I think Maitreya is the 108, and the next 109th teacher again Maitreya introduced. Okay, so it's a very interesting story. Then who he introduced? Maitreya said, go to Manjushri. Go to Manjushri. He will teach you. And this, merchant Norsang, he all the way going to 108 master, 109th teacher, he went to Manjushri back. And Manjushri said, welcome, my son. So how was your journey? If some ordinary person, I think they will yell at that Manjushri, right? Say, what did you do? Why? Right? So they will ask the question to why. But Norsang, was so humbling. Thank you. He said, thank you. Thank you for introducing me to all these great masters. And the story didn't finish there. And Manjushri actually said to Norsang, okay, now next, there is a Bodhisattva, Samatapatra. Go to him. So he will teach you. So he is your real teacher. And then Norsang went to, Samatapatra. And Samatapatra actually, what he teach, that is what he teach. This Malam Gityawo, Sangbuche Malam, this Samatapatra prayer, the king of the prayer. And when, Samatapatra teach him, and that is the whole. And, this is all translated in Tibetan. And then from, it is actually, originally it was exist in Sanskrit, and from Sanskrit it was translated into Tibetan. And then nowadays you can actually find this translation in English too. And this prayer actually began Jinya Sudha Chuju Jidena. That is like the starting of the word. Jinya Sudha Chuju Jidena. Tuzum Shewa Mi Singlepe. Agi Male Teta Tamjela. Ludanai on the Cha Kiwo. So that is the Samatapatra first word, he said Jinya Sudha. So this is a great, and then this is begin with the 7 limbs prayer. So first bowing, prostration, and even when he teaches that I think I tell you last week also that Samatapatra way of doing the practice is like sort of like it. So even like on the one single particle of the universe, right? On the one single part of the universe, like amount of all the particles of the universe, that much enlightened being I will visualize. Sort of, see, I will visualize, all the particles, can you imagine how many are there, right? Like billions and trillions, I think there's no number. That much amount of Buddha enlightened, I will visualize on one single particles. And then how many of them? I will visit them. And these Buddhas are also not just standing alone. They are surrounded by the sentient being. They are surrounded by the, retinue. And I will visualize like that, and I will prostrate. I will do the prostration. Even when I do the prostration, I will manifest. I will visualize, my body, my speech, my mind into that much number. More than a particle, each particles of the universe, and I will visualize that much particles of, into like all this number of particles, like I will visualize, like that much I will, visualize, and I will prostrate to you. See, great method, right? See, these are like something inconceivable, but something that, even when he do, like showing the practice of the prostration, like that kind of a bowing practice, like paying homage. And see, that is why this, 7 limbs prayer actually is somehow this 7 limbs set of kind of a doing practice is invented by Bodhisattva Samantabhadra, and he actually gave this original teaching to Merchant Norsam. So, and because of Merchant Norsam, we actually have access to this kind of practice, right? If like who will taught like that, right? So this is great actually technique by the Bodhisattva Samantabhadra. So somehow it is like this technique is out of this world. It's not from this world, right? This is something. Can you imagine, like 2,500 years ago, we are not talking about stars and all anything, right? We're not talking about this, the stars and particles or anything. But Bodhisattva Samantabhadra was talking about it. I think His Holiness the Dalai Lama book, Universe in the Single Atom, was inspired from this word of Samantabhadra. There is one book that His Holiness the Dalai Lama wrote, right? Universe in the Single Atom, right? Universe in the Single Atom. So this is kind of like, these words is like a great, skillful, very skillful. It's just like, can you imagine how much merits and accumulation actually you just doing a bowing to one Buddha, how much merits you will get. And if you are, visualizing the amount of particles of the whole universe in each single atom, and then just multiply it by that, double. So it's somehow inconceivable. And then the object that you are doing the bowing is that much, and the person who is actually doing it also that much. And then, when you combine, and that's kind of somehow, that is the Bodhisattva way of prostration. So, and that is I think, Master Tsongkhapa in the Welka Valley, when he was doing that, I think definitely he was doing that, from the, and somehow it was inspired from that, his practice, and traditionally, not only in the Gelug tradition, I think on all the, different, all the traditions of the Tibetan Buddhism, as we call it, Ngondo Salja, preliminary practice, right? many of the preliminary practice is actually based on 7 limbs prayer. And this 7 limbs prayer is originally came from the Samadapatra prayer. All right. And yeah, so now I'm looking here in the chatting. I think here's Margie is saying 7 limbs prayer is a preliminary to our meditation or practice, or is it a practice itself? I think it is both. It's a practice itself as well as any practice, you know, but it's just kind of like, we call it preliminary practice, but anyway, all the practice that what we do is preliminary, I think, right? It's a preliminary, it's a preparation. Why it is preliminary is because, you know, even our actual practice is a preliminary because it is a preparation to become enlightened. So until we become enlightened, every practice is a preliminary, I think. So there is a, you know, there is a preliminary for the preliminary for the preliminary. So anyway, all the practice, whatever practice that we are doing is, we are getting ready. So somehow preparation, right? Preparation, preliminary practice means preparation practice. Preparation means getting ready. So until we become enlightened being, we are getting ready. So once we are totally ready to become enlightened being, and then, you know, we will become enlightened, right? Enlightened. So until then, we are getting ready. So, you know, preliminary practice is the getting ready, preparing practice. So even our actual practice are preparation. So somehow that's why I think my answer here is both. It's both. It's an actual practice as well as it is the preliminary. Yeah. And then I see another chat here from Yasu. In the King of Prayers, yeah, why Samatapatra paid homage to youthful Manjushri at the beginning? You know, actually, Jambe Shunu Gyurbala Chatselos, that is actually not, but actually it is, you know, like if you look at that, like Samatapatra actually paid homage not in the beginning to Manjushri, actually in the middle somewhere in the prayer, that he prays to Manjushri, and Manjushri kind of like Samatapatra is a very good friend of Manjushri. So they are buddies. They are like they are buddies. Maybe they hang out together and different Buddha fields, you know. So they go together sometime, you know. So this kind of bodhisattva has so much power that actually, you know, within a 1 semi-second, they can travel to immeasurable Buddha field. Sort of like it's kind of a little bit like a sci-fi, sci-fi movie, like, you know. But in ordinary mind, maybe we will not understand, we will not conceive like their deeds, right? This is kind of like a, but anyway. But this, to answer your question, Yasu, I prostrate to youthful Manjushri, that is not actually said by Samatapatra. That was the, you know, that was the homage actually added by the translator. It is like in the Tibetan, when they translate from the Sanskrit to Tibetan, in the beginning, there is always like a Jagarkedu, means in the Indian language, like they begin, you know, their translation, like they use the title in the Sanskrit, you know, they in the Indian like a language of Sanskrit, it is said that. So they will put that first title in Sanskrit word, like a not word, Sanskrit kind of phonetic in Tibetan, you know, and then in Pökebu means in Tibetan, it is known as this, like that. And then right after that, then there will be a one paying homage, Jambe Shunu Juvala Satselo. So because actually there are 3, like when they actually did the translation, so they actually made some sort of like rules, some sort of like rules. So when they translate, they actually put all the Buddha's teaching, or all the teaching that is translated from India, they put that into 3 different baskets, like sort of like a category. So they put it in a 3 category, So one category is called the Vinaya. Vinaya means all the rules and regulations, like the monks' rules and regulations, right? All the, kind of monastic, rules. And this is one basket. We call it Dena, one category. And then another category is Dode Dena, which means Sutra category. Sutra, sort of like a mini collection of different sutra, Dode, do, sort of like a different, like a kind of like a sutra. And then third is Mwembe Dene means Abhidharma, Abhi, sort of like more sort of like a wisdom side, right? So like the Dode is more sort of like the, what do you call, top, like, all the different like love and compassion teaching, and like different sutras, right? And then wisdom is Mwemba means to kind of clear, kind of making clear, sort of like a wisdom side. So somehow, like it's not necessary that if it is a wisdom, then it will not teach the sutra part. If it is sutra, it will not teach the wisdom. But just kind of like because of the primary message in the different teaching, right? So this is like so. See, that is why kind of like means wisdom primarily kind of focus is called the wisdom collection sort of category, And then sutra is one that is actually what do you call? Meditation, focus. The main subject is meditation, and all the different paths and all these things is called the sutra category. And then rules and regulation monastic is called the Vinaya. So see, so when they put it category into like that, so when the translator actually translate, so this specific sutra is actually falling into if they want to put that into the category of the wisdom, then they will put this word. So I, prostrate, I pay homage to youthful Manjushri. So that is the kind of like a kind of set, so they put that. So this included into this category. So then if it is a Vinaya, there is a different, like is a Tamje Kempala Chatselo, which means I bow to the, omniscient Buddha, I bow to the omniscient Buddha. If it is something like that you see in the Tibetan translation, then that means it falls into the category of the Vinaya, Dua, And if it is there's another word, like I bow and homage to all the Buddhas and Bodhisattva. So there's one like a kind of like a paying homage word. If that is, then it is belong to the category of the, what do you call, sutra. So see, that is why in the King of the Prayer, I think because the English translation is translated from Tibetan, right? So then Tibetan, one has a, it begins with the Jambe Shunu Jubala Chaselo. And also it makes sense, right? Like when we actually recite in prayer in our, kind of like a monastery, and, we don't start with, when we recite, when we do the recitation, we always recite with this beginning. I bow and pay homage to youthful Manjushri, like that. And somehow it also makes sense, right? It is because of the Manjushri. Norsang, the merchant Norsang asked the Manjushri, and the Manjushri actually sent Norsang all over. And finally, he met with he introduced it to Kundu Sangpo. He can actually, Manjushri can directly introduce him to the Kundu Sangpo. He doesn't have to go all the way, to send him to all the different 108 master. He can just directly, hey, there's one your main teacher is Samatha Patra, you can just go directly to, and I think Bodhisattva, Samatha Patra will not say no, right? Because it was introduced by Manjushri. So anyway,